The Gilded Age is back this week with the second episode of Season 3, and it's clear to see the overarching theme of this season, which is the different stages of love. We're seeing this most with the Russell children and the polar opposite approaches that they're going through. For example, Larry is with somebody that he truly cares for in Marian, and Gladys is having the complete opposite experience and is being used as a pawn in Bertha's venture into altering the Russell name and pushing it towards higher status. As well as that, we're also seeing the differentiation in the way that people of colour were treated during that time period, and also how toxic high society could be if something changes in your life through no fault of your own. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is the Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 2 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Gladys and Bertha. This episode followed on directly from the ending of the first episode, where Gladys ran away to Billy's because she was overwhelmed with everything that her mother was doing with forcing her to marry the Duke. We saw that Bertha had leaked fake stories to the press about Gladys and the Duke's engagement, which is something that hadn't even happened, and Bertha was basically this puppet master that was controlling her daughter's life. Bertha doesn't want her daughter to marry for love, which in this instance would be Billy. Instead, she wants her to marry the Duke because, in her words, she'll be the envy of every woman in society. This is because she'll be in a position that nobody in the upper circle would be able to reach unless they got married to royalty. Whilst it feels like Bertha is doing it for her daughter's future, I don't think that's the case at all. The line that Mrs. Fish said in this episode, where she asked Bertha, "What do you call the mother of a duchess?" and it was met with a response from Bertha in her having a smile on her face from ear to ear. That showed that she was doing this because it was bettering her position in society and within her circle. The fact that Bertha was also the person that walked off with the Duke in arm at the end of the episode showed that she was the one that was fully in control and set to gain the most. Bertha said a line to George which also showed how she was viewing it more like a business venture when she said to him, "I won't question your business if you don't question mine." So Bertha truly is acting like a puppet master and trying to better her own situation through the use of her daughter. Love is a core theme of this season, as we're seeing with Gladys and Billy, and the fact that they can't be together. Larry and Marian, in the sense that they're sneaking around with there being no judgment on their relationship, which is showing how true love is able to blossom. And we're also seeing the other end of the spectrum in Aurora and Charles, and the way that it can sadly end. Gladys said a couple of lines of dialogue in this episode which truly summed up her mindset, in the sense that she said, "I want to take control of my own life, and you said I could marry for love." These two lines of dialogue showed that she felt as though she was losing grasp over her own decision-making, which is something that was clearly impacting her mind, as there were lots of moments where she was just staring off into blank space. With the Duke arriving with a lawyer to the Russell household and George being completely unaware of what they were doing there, Bertha has clearly promised him some financial betterment if it means that he'll take her daughter's hand in marriage. That way it's a win-win for the both of them. With the ominous dark horns playing underneath the final scene, Gladys and George were together and he was holding her as if he was trying to protect her. So I do think we're going to see a George and Gladys versus Bertha household, and it's going to be emotional and passionate to watch because, as Bertha says, she always gets what she wants. Billy has been driven out of the picture now, and he bottled going up to George because he felt as though he wasn't in the same league as the likes of Mr. Russell. But as well, the constant uphill battle that he was facing and needing to show his worth was something that he couldn't handle anymore. So for now, he and Gladys are also no more. With regards to George Russell, it seems like his railway venture of wanting to connect all of the major cities in the United States is a project that's coming with a lot of risk. But with JP Morgan now being involved and being prepared to operate the project with him, it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. There was talk earlier of the Russells being from new money, and the bank struggling is something that George was concerned about, so I do wonder if it's not going to go as smoothly as George thinks. Larry and Marian. Well, they finally kissed. Larry and Marian's arc is one that's actually really enjoyable to watch because we're actually seeing true love developing in front of our eyes. It makes a change from all of the game playing that we're seeing from the likes of Charles and also Bertha. They're sneaking around, but it's mainly because they don't want it to be public knowledge that they're together. However, Ada has cottoned on to what's going on between them, and I think we'll start to see their relationship becoming more public knowledge. I did think it was funny when Larry left the room and it was just Marian, Bertha and George that were left there. You could sense how awkward that room was probably going to be when he left. The Rhijn household. Sorry, the Forte household. Ada and Agnes have now agreed that Ada is the person that's in charge of the staff and she'll be giving out the orders, much to Agnes's dismay, as she's always been in charge. What this show is doing a great job at is getting across how frustrating it must be for those in the house to have to listen to Ada talking about the temperance pledge that she's trying to push onto people, because every time she mentions it, I genuinely roll my eyes and I'm wondering why you're still doing it. Within this household, it was more so about Aurora and Charles' drama and the fact that Charles still wanted to divorce her even though it meant that her world would quite literally be destroyed. We saw the beginning of the judgment that she could be facing when Mrs. Astor changed her tone after spotting Charles at Aurora's event when she lied about him being ill, but he actually turned up with his mistress. There was a line in this episode where Agnes said, "It would be better for you if he were dead," and I'm genuinely wondering if the show is setting up some kind of murder storyline that could be taking place. Aurora will quite literally be finished in society if they get a divorce, and if he's going to play dirty like this, that'll also finish her too. So she genuinely might be driven to the point of killing him as a way of retaining her position in society. This season is all about the positions in society as well as love, so that could be a story that gets developed. Another story in the Forte household was that Peggy Scott was getting over her illness, but most importantly, they introduced brand new love interest Dr. Kirkland. A doctor who ended up becoming one because he was in awe of watching Peggy's father Arthur making his medicines when he was younger. We saw that Dr. Kirkland took an interest in Peggy, her writing, and there was a sense of care that was there that felt deeper than just work. Judging by the trailer, it seems like they're going to start seeing each other, and with this season being all about love, we could see this romance becoming a thing. Peggy deserves love and happiness, and I'd like to see that unfolding for her. Peggy's mother and father were characters that also got a focus in this episode, and their surprise at the way Agnes was acting was interesting to see. On Fifth Avenue, people that aren't white don't usually fit in with the image of the street, and they're often met with less respect. However, Agnes didn't do that, which surprised the Scotts. Arthur is impacted by the way that society views black people, and I think this is going to be a common theme that will be explored as the episodes go on. With Peggy's article about Tuskegee making waves over in Newport and her other extract also being enjoyed, it seems like her and the family are going to be heading there for a reading, and that's where Arthur will also feel like he doesn't quite fit in there as well due to the different backgrounds of people. The final thing about the Van Rhynes is that it seems like Oscar has managed to get himself out of this rut with the help of John Adams. Adams said that he'd give him a check for him to invest the money and to turn over a return, and once word got out, then many other people would do the same. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be plain sailing for Oscar, and we might see him dwindle that money away somewhere. He's lost it all before, and I feel he might just end up doing it again, which would mean that he'd have no chances left. My review of the episode. I thought episode 2 was a good episode of the show. The core theme of love and the different ways that it can be felt is something that's so clear to see, and I'm enjoying seeing the pleasant emotions it can make you feel, but also the heartbreaking ones too. Bertha is coming across as such an evil and heartless woman in this season, but the funny thing is, I'm all here for it. Give me more of it because it's so entertaining to watch. I don't think it will end well for her, and I do actually think it could cause severe damage to the family. On the flip side, the tenderness that Agnes showed in this episode towards the Scotts, especially when she was talking about Oscar when he was younger and was on death's door, it was probably the most emotional that we've seen the character in such a long time, and it showed that even the frostiest of characters can have a heart. One story that's on the back burner at the moment, but I imagine will come to the forefront, is George and his railway that he's looking to build. I think this will likely coincide with either making or breaking the Russell family. The pulling rank card that occurred and the fact that it was said that the Russells come from new money makes me think that it's there to be lost, so I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go. When it came to the performances in this episode, I thought they were all really strong. I thought the chemistry between Larry and Marian and also Peggy and Dr. Kirkland was infectious, and it was nice to see the beautiful side of love. I'd also say the scene where Gladys broke down in her brother's arms was such a sad moment, and it was performed so well. I felt for Gladys, and it does just feel like she's being dragged from pillar to post and doesn't have any control whatsoever. This season really is shaping up to be a solid one, and I love the fact that Gladys and Bertha are at the heart of it. We're getting a different perspective on the time and the drive that some women had to better themselves and their families' lives, even if it came at the cost of the very family that they're trying to improve. So, there you have it. The Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 2 Ending Explained.